Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 607 of the Juicebox Podcast. On this episode of the Juicebox Podcast, I'll be speaking with Ed, who is an adult type 1. He's also a parent, a husband, and a number of other things that we get into. He said a lot of things. Ed's a lot of things. Ed, he's a person like you, like me. Just trying to get by. I'm just kidding. Ed's great. We're going to have a good time. Please remember while you're listening that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. Just now I realized I could have named the episode Mr. Ed. I still could, I guess. The Amazing Mr. Ed? Is that how the horse is a horse? Of course. I'm listening to the Baba. I can't think it is. Hold on. Mr. Ed song. Unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed. The famous Mr. Ed. Should I call it that? I don't know. We'll see. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Contour Next One blood glucose meter. You can learn more about that wonderful little meter at contournext.com/juicebox. The podcast is also sponsored by Touched by Type 1, and they're, of course, available to you for your viewing and reading and looking pleasure on Instagram, Facebook, and at touchedbytype1.org.
My name is Ed. I'm 48 years old. I've been a type 1 diabetic since 2000. So with that being said, Scott, now you have to figure out how old I was when I got it.
Wait, I do? I was going...
I know how you love doing math.
Well, I went the easy way, and I was like, you've had it for 21 years.
Yeah, it's easy that way, yeah.
But what did you say? How old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was just about to turn 28.
So you're 49?
I'm about to turn 49 September 1st.
All right. Okay, see? You gave it away. You were 27, 28.
Yeah, it's 21 years. So.
Wow, you've been at it that long.
Yeah, and for the first 17, 18 years, it was okay. I'm not going to say it was great. I wasn't a great diabetic, but I wasn't a bad diabetic. I tried to eat okay, but my problem was I never tested myself as much as I should have, and without a CGM that I have now, not having any idea of what my blood sugar was in between meals or through the night or anything like that. So it's been much better now for the last 3 years, for sure.
All right, so let's put this into context because my messing around throws me off. So in 2000, you're how old?
I am about to turn 28. I just started a new job.
Yep.
I had moved back to New York from Texas, where I was working at another job, and I flew back to New York for another job.
Ed, your accent must have stuck out in Texas like a sore thumb, huh?
A little bit. For sure.
Okay, so 2000, 28 years old. The technology, the testing technology exists then.
Yeah, I had a meter. It was like the first meter I got, it took like 30 seconds to get the reading, which is, just sitting there 30 seconds seems like a long time. We're just waiting for the, count it down, 28, 27, 26, and then find out your number. And
you had, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you probably had Humalog or something at that point, right?
Yes. I was on, obviously, MDI for the first 6 months or so using Humalog and Humulin.
Okay.
Which I think is just like the long-acting one.
Right. Now, you said you did this thing that a lot of adults that have had type 1 for a while do. It's super interesting to me. You were like, it was going okay. Like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, well, it was going okay. I don't know how else to say. I wasn't having many lows for sure. But I was probably running higher than you would want it to be. Well, especially if I was looking at my numbers now and back then, I'd be like, what the hell was I doing?
Well, So, and that's what I usually think of, right? Is when you guys say, I've now lumped together everyone who's had diabetes for like 15 or 20
That's
years
fine.
into one bucket.
We're all just one group.
Yeah. I don't mean it that way, but the people
I
the people I've spoken to, when they say that, I feel like what they mean is, I didn't get dizzy and I didn't pass out.
Right.
Is that how you felt about it?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, at the time, I didn't want to say I didn't take it seriously, but I wasn't taking it too seriously. I knew what I had to do. I took my shots when I had to. I tried to watch what I ate. And I just tried to live as normal as I could. I didn't really try to let it, hold me back from doing anything.
Right. That's the other thing that people love to say is like, diabetes doesn't hold me back. And I always think of, like, when you say that to me, if you said to me, hey, Scott, I see that diabetes doesn't hold Arden back. In my mind, that paints a picture of somebody with really stable blood sugars who doesn't get low when they're active, and can do things on a whim, can stand up and say, I'm going to go out now. And it's not a big deal. Yep. And I have had the feeling over the years that talking to adults who have had type 1 for a long time, that when they say it didn't hold me back, what they meant is I just did stuff. It didn't matter what my blood sugar was.
Correct.
Right.
I would say that's a fair statement.
Is it okay for you? And obviously I'm not lumping everybody together, but
for me, yes. For me, there was never a time where I said, oh, wait, I can't do that. I got to take control of something real quick. Never. But
in context, that means if your blood sugar was 250, you would have just gone out to dinner anyway.
Yep.
And in your mind, diabetes wasn't holding you back.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I was at 250 and I was going out to eat, all right, let me just give myself a correction, or at the time, and just go. And then probably wouldn't test myself again until hours after dinner or before bed.
See, you're cementing my thought that diabetes doesn't hold me back means I'm just not going to pay attention to diabetes.
No, well, I guess. But like I said, I was never really that bad.
Right.
I mean, my A1C's always fluctuated between mid to high sixes, and it topped out at being the highest at 8.2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, it's context, right? And I shouldn't joke around because I don't want anybody to take it the wrong way. But back then, or even 10 years or 20 years prior to that, everybody's experience with diabetes is different based on the timeline. Like,
sure,
you really weren't being held back and you were doing the things that you were asked to do. But now in hindsight, the way you manage now, you can look back and think, oh, wow, like that's not nearly what it could have been. But,
exactly. And I wonder about, did I cause myself any damage?
I would imagine you think about that. Yeah.
But, I still have all the feelings in my feet and stuff like that. The doctors always try to test that. I don't have any other ailments that I would think that would have been caused by any damage I might have done to myself.
Right. But even as I'm saying what I just said, like, you recognize too, like, you were probably doing as well as you could have done with the technology that existed at that point.
Yes. I mean, I could have probably tested a little bit more often.
Okay.
But at the time, all I had was a meter, and at the time, my Medtronic pump.
Was it really that much of a hassle to test?
I'm a lazy guy, Scott.
Well, no.
When it comes to stuff like that, I mean, but
in the moment, do you not connect testing more with living longer and being healthy?
No.
I see. All right.
I was just doing something, and then, I got to eat. Maybe I should. And then the next day I know I'm eating, and I didn't even test myself.
I gotcha. Yeah, because when I think about it with Arden prior to CGMs, we tested frequently. I'd say honestly, we might have tested Arden between 10 and 14 times a day before CGMs. Like, I was trying to act like a CGM before I even knew what one was.
Right. Well, and that's being a good parent.
Well, I was definitely just scared. Mostly.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've said it a lot, and a lot of people you've interviewed said the same thing. I was glad I got it as an adult, so my parents wouldn't have to take care of me.
Yeah, I can see that. I've also heard people say that listening to the podcast as an adult with type 1 makes them wish that things were like this now. So their parents, I think they're now seeing how impactful it is on parents. And they wonder if their parents weren't impacted similarly, but didn't have the tools to do anything about it.
For sure. 100%. What you just said is, I believe, is the correct statement for sure.
Yeah. So your parents don't know a thing about your diabetes, probably.
Uh, I mean, my mom has passed for the
Okay.
last 10 years, but she would always not really ask me about it. Just didn't really. I wouldn't say didn't care. She definitely cared, but
Right.
it was never a topic of conversation, really.
No. It was like so it's somewhere more impactful than Ed needs to take a multivitamin every day, but
Yes,
yeah, they don't really understand the details of it.
right. And I'm thinking about this even at that time. I didn't understand it either. I just said, doctor said take your insulin as you eat, and you'll be fine. Pretty much. I mean, that's the gist of it.
What stands in the way of the understanding? Is it that the internet didn't exist the way it does now? Like what?
Yeah, I'm gonna be.
Good.
I never even looked up on the internet about type 1 diabetes, or obviously Facebook didn't even exist at the time.
Yeah.
So I just kind of just with if I tested myself. I said, all right, I'm gonna have this much food. I'm gonna put the amount of the carbs I'm gonna eat into my pump and let it go, and then not know about anything else until I ate again and tested again.
Yeah.
So knowing what I know now and how insulin works from listening to your podcast, maybe pre-bowls in for 30 minutes before, that'll probably help.
What made you look for more information this late in the game?
I was always part of the generic type 1 diabetic group on Facebook. Nothing, I would just I would scroll past it. But then about 3 years ago, I went to my doctor. I got my 8.2 A1C, and he said, maybe you should go get a CGM.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the educator. We talked about it, and we switched my CGM and my pump at the same time. And since then, the fact that I could see my number and make little corrections at a time, it's been really, really, really good.
So seeing that data made you want to do a better job with it.
Absolutely. And at first, before I started listening to your podcast, I would just put the CGM on and not realizing why it's spiking like that.
How do you find the podcast?
It was okay. So when I switched to the Dexcom and the Omnipod, I joined the group on Facebook. Probably it was like Omnipod and Dexcom users or something like that.
Right.
And somebody had mentioned your podcast. And I said, okay, I was never a big podcast listener, but about the same, maybe 4 months later, I got a Fitbit. And I said, let me start going for walks so I can see my steps. And and then I started listening to your podcast on my walks.
It's funny. People get healthy listening to the podcast. I'm sitting here melting to this chair.
Oh, dude.
I got to get out more.
But I also got the Fitbit at the time because I was able to see my CGM data. So okay. It was, and then it's always telling you, you got to get 8,000 more steps. You got to get 7,000 more steps. So I would go for more walks, and then I needed something to do while I was walking. So I listened to your podcast.
Right. So I can recall, this is interesting because you're a person who I've been aware of for a really long time. And it's easier for me to keep track of men because they're fewer. Like men
First
don't.
of all, I'm honored that you've been aware of me.
No. I hope that sounds right. A lot of names pass by my face. And so some of them stick for just, it's because my brain works oddly and my brain makes rhymes up about some people's names. But the men are easier to track because there's just fewer of them. It's not as common for guys to reach out to me. So I can almost picture myself sitting in my living room getting a message from you, probably through Facebook.
Yep.
The first time. And you were excited, you were excited to reach out. And not that other people aren't usually, but I remember thinking that at the time. Do you recall that?
I 100% do. I had just come back from the doctor's office after maybe 4 or 5 months on the Omnipod and Dexcom. And I went from an 8.2 to a 5.2.
Wow.
And that was the lowest it's ever been. And what really aggravated me a little bit was the doctor was like, there's no way you could do that. without going to having lows.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I could just back up a little bit, this doctor I had probably seen for 6 years, never looked at my numbers ever. Just saw my CGM, saw my A1C.
Right.
So what kind of care is that really giving me?
Yeah.
But to me though, I would go, he tell me my A1C, he would give me my prescriptions, and I go on my way.
Are you in the city?
No, I'm on Long Island.
You're on the island. Okay. I always get when in the city it's rushed, but on Long Island you should.
It's always rushed. They try to book 3 appointments at the same time. You get 3 to 5 minutes with them, and then you know how it goes.
Yeah. You're zipped right out. I have to tell you that one of the best parts of my day is that people pretty consistently send me their like lab stuff when they come out of their doctor's appointments.
Right.
And it's it really feels good. I have to tell you, I get to feel good a lot. I might be one day this whole thing will end and I'll be like, let me use an example you'll really get. I'll be Lenny Dykstra. Like all the fans will be gone. Nobody will be cheering and I'll just be running around like doing blow and gambling away all my money trying to find the excitement that I used to have with my diabetes podcast.
But honestly, Scott, I think you got to keep this podcast going as long as you feel like doing it. Because there's always going to be new parents that have to handle their kids with the newly diagnosed, and you're going to be there for them.
I also think there's always going to be adults who've had type 1 for 15 or 20 years and have some sort of a reckoning moment and are running around trying to figure out what to do now. I have no plans on stopping the podcast. I really do love it.
Well, what else you got to do right now?
Yeah, what I mean, I'm just sitting here, right? But I do. It's funny. I talk to my son about this all the time. Like when athletes quit, how difficult it must be for them to no longer get adulation, and why some of them I think go bonkers sometimes. Later in their life.
It's funny you say that. I probably have mentioned to you at one point. Both my sons, they're 11 and 12. They play baseball, and I take them to a hitting trainer. And the trainer, I asked him, how much do you miss playing baseball right now? And he goes, I can't believe I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have the ability to. So it's like you said, once you keep doing something, you can't not think about not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, yesterday, Cole and I went out to throw, and that's a fallacy. He throws, I catch the ball and I drop it in a bucket. But, there was somebody out there as well. It was an adult with their younger kids, probably like freshman high school age. And the kids were running and he was timing them. I don't know why, it doesn't matter. But as I was walking away, the guy said to my son, like, do you play baseball? And he goes, yeah. And the guy asked him where. Cole told him. And then they started talking. And I could hear Cole, as I was walking away, talking about how much he loves playing baseball. And he's kind of a quiet person. So in 2 seconds, he opened up to a complete stranger and was telling him how much he loved it.
And you hope he can continue playing as long as he can, because
Yeah, you got to knock on something there, because either your talent gets in the way, your age gets in the way, or you break something or bend something the wrong way. So yeah, it's great.
I think you had mentioned at one time on the podcast how many people play baseball as kids, and how many stop playing when they get to high school, and then how many stop playing when they get to college, and then how many stop after that.
Yeah.
And the number is just like astronomical. And the fact that if somebody can make it to the major leagues,
yeah, no,
how good they have to be.
I'm astonished by that constantly, that the year my son started playing baseball, 4 million American kids started playing t-ball. Yep. And in Little League. And when Cole went into college as a freshman, 9,000 of those 4 million kids went to play college baseball. And I think,
and then after that,
to the pros, it's 3,000, maybe less, fewer than that. It's an interesting way to keep competing at something. I think it's good for you, like psychologically. I'm saying once you make it and people are screaming in your ear and you're like, I am amazing. Like it is there. I'll joke like sometimes privately by myself in my room, or I'll wander past my wife or something like that. But getting back to it, when a person you've never met before, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times a day, different people send notes going, hey, my A1C went from 8.2 to 5.2. Thank you. The podcast, whatever the note says. It's important to me not to minimize that, like that interaction. So I don't receive them and go, oh, here's another one. Like, you know what I mean? I don't feel that way. And I even if I felt that way, I got to be honest with you, I wouldn't tell you, but I don't feel that way because I think it would make me sound like a monster.
I'm sure it makes you feel good.
It's exciting
that you've helped at least one person, but now you've helped thousands of people probably.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's way more than I even know about.
And it's the basic concepts that you've always said. It was the first podcast I listened to, so it always sticks to me. And I don't remember which episode it was or anything like that, but it was your basal has to be right, timing of insulin, and the amount of insulin. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, I've added now like understanding the different impacts of foods and staying flexible and but yeah, I joke sometimes. People are like, "Oh, the podcast is so popular." I was like, to be honest with you, the podcast could be 6 minutes long in one episode, you know. But I don't think any. But no one would take it seriously. Then it would sound trite, and it would sound like, "Oh, that can't be right." And plus, I think the other stuff, these conversations just with you, and like you don't realize it right now, but you just said something in the last 20 minutes that will make an adult with type 1 want to do better.
I hope so.
100% you will. Like I now know how this works. Like I now understand how this works. And even that's why I'm always amused when I'll stop recording with somebody and they're like, if you don't want to run that, I'll understand. I'm like, what? Like, well, I didn't say anything. And I was like, you don't even know what you just did. Like you share.
Yeah.
You know,
that was my reservation over even coming on the podcast. I'm like, what do I have to say? It's not going to be exciting.
And listen, you're a person who you keep, like you send me your A1Cs, I would say consistently, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I'll say it every time because you're the only person to actually make me understood what I was doing. Mm-hmm. No doctor has ever said pre-bolus for 30 minutes before you eat. Maybe check yourself after you eat. No doctor's ever said that.
Why not we just pay attention to this a little bit?
Yeah.
That's fascinating because can you look back retrospectively? Would you have if someone made it important to you? Do you think?
I might have, but if somebody would said you should really take your insulin about 30 minutes or 20 minutes before you eat, that would have definitely stunk in. Me testing myself more at the time, I don't know.
Yeah, you might not have done that. I have to tell you, Arden, you know, at this point, I mean, I remember before CGMs, I must have tested Arden's blood sugar 10,000 times, you know, in a handful of years. Like, I mean, a lot. And now her fingers have recovered because, I mean, look, not for nothing. I've said this probably once or twice, but it might bear repeating. I wouldn't let anybody test my blood sugar when Arden was little because I had a real genuine fear that if I knew what it felt like and I thought it hurt, that I wouldn't be able to do it to her. And I was the one always doing it to her. So I wouldn't do it. Right. And then that morphed as she got older and suddenly like testing her blood sugar, she didn't care at all anymore. Right. And so I tested mine and I have to be honest with you, like when that lance goes in, it ain't fun. So
it's definitely not. Yeah. I mean, but I just remember this one time I was going to a family barbecue and I was giving myself my insulin as I was in the car. And my cousin comes out and he goes, I can't believe I could never give myself shots. I go, well, the alternative is that I'll die.
Yeah.
If I don't. So
I bet you would.
Yeah, probably. If you don't, you know, or yeah. Something would really, really be wrong with me by now.
But there are people who wouldn't, too.
Well,
I mean, or do it less frequently to avoid it, and maybe that leads to higher blood sugars or stuff like that.
Yes, I mean, I'm sure there's you know, like I said, I never was a horrible. I hate the horrible diabetic. I was never that bad. I just had I was just lazy about testing myself. I would always give my insulin. I would always try to eat, but then like. The testing thing part would get in the way of like whatever I was doing. Or
were you married when you were diagnosed?
I was married. Since then divorced and remarried.
Okay. You loved it so much you did it again.
I say this all the time. you make your mistakes in your 20s, you fix them in your 30s, and in your 40s, you got actually start to live happily. Does that make happier?
Yeah. So you agree with me when you hear me say, like, I think I've just started to turn into a person in the last 5 or so years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
But my point is that you were busy, right? So you didn't, your kids aren't with your first wife. Is that right?
My daughters are older.
Oh, okay.
I have 2 daughters that are older, and they are 28 and 22.
Oh,
so,
okay. Oh, you have 4 kids then?
I have 4 kids.
See, I think of you as having, hopefully your daughters will never listen to this. I think of you as having 2 because you mentioned the boys in baseball. Like, that's why.
Well, my daughters are older, so they're kind of living their own lives. I have a grandson now who's 6 months old.
Wow.
Which is I was as being only 48, I was like, there's no way I could be a grandfather. I'm never going to be called grandpa ever.
They're going to call you grandpa. Yeah.
Yes.
And you're going to smile, and that's going to be the end of it. So,
yep.
That's kind of crazy. Is there any autoimmune stuff with your family line or with your children?
Nope. Nope. Not that I know of. Not yet.
Interesting.
And that's always been my fear that my daughters or my sons are going to get type 1.
Would you do TrialNet for your boys? You wouldn't.
Nope. I don't want to have the idea of the thought about them getting it and knowing they're going to get it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Okay. And then you'll see it coming.
And then yes, I'll obviously know the signs, drinking 1,000 gallons of water, peeing all the time, losing weight.
Guess what? You've got diabetes.
Yep.
Do your girls, are they aware of it? Like, do you think they think about it?
No.
Okay.
I don't think they think. I mean, they think about the fact that I have it and maybe some of the things I have to do to take care of it, but I don't think they're worried about getting it at all.
Interesting. Okay. No, it makes sense. Oh, here's a non sequitur. When you hear me tell people that their bagels are terrible, you like not alone.
Yep. Yes, and pizza as well.
Oh, the pizza. Yeah, they don't understand that.
What's going to really stink is in the next 3 to 4 months, probably even sooner than that. But by the time this gets listened to, I will be living in Tampa, Florida.
Oh, are you moving for good? For work?
For work, yep.
Yeah. So there's a pizza place in Tampa that the last time I was there, they truck the water down from New York. So
I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Are they really doing that?
It was good. I thought I was home when I was eating it. So,
Are they really shipping in water? People say they say that all the time, but are they really doing that?
That's what they said. That's what my buddies said. I don't know. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it,
you think the mama's like boxing up pitchers of water and sending it to them?
I imagine it's in a truck. But now that I'm thinking about it, the guy I went with is a lifelong New Yorker, and it was almost like going for pizza with a mob don. The way he talks, okay. And how he's like, yeah, they bring it down from in the truck. So maybe he was full of crap. Maybe. All right.
Hey, we'll say for argument's sake that's what they do.
I have to say, I'm gonna shout him out right here. He'll never hear this, but Charles is one of my favorite people that I don't see enough. But who introduced me to the phrase "the juice isn't worth the squeeze," and the way he says it, it's so much cooler than when I say it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is. I probably couldn't say cool either. So
no.
I'm right with you.
That's crazy. So how do you manage now? Like, what do you have? Pump, CGM,
right, so
etc.
I have Omnipod.
Mm-hmm.
And Dexcom G6.
Omnipod G6.
And I'm going to say, if I didn't know about the Omnipod at the time and I was looking at pumps, I probably would have went with the T-Slim.
Okay.
Or the Tandem, whatever it's called, because of the integration with the pump.
Back
and
then.
the pump and the CGM.
How long have you had, since you made that switch? A couple of years?
3 years.
Okay. So you
probably six months after I first contacted you.
All right. And so you were looking at that because of back then it was. Was it, what did they?
I was on a Medtronic.
Right.
And I felt like it almost stopped working. I don't know if that's the right term. I think it was because I was only using my stomach over and over and over and over again.
I see.
And the absorption just didn't seem like it was working.
Yeah. That'll happen. You have to keep moving your sites around for
yes.
sure.
So
go ahead.
with Omnipod, obviously, you can put it any way you want.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been on Omnipod and Dexcom G6 for 3 years.
Good for you. When you were looking originally, though, you said you were thinking about the Tandem. And why did you go the Omnipod?
If I had known about it, I went to my diabetic educator after my doctor said maybe you should go on a CGM.
Okay. And
she said, well, here's what the Medtronic looks like now, and here's what the Omnipod looks like. And those are the only two options. Like, you know, at the time, I'm sure there were others, but those are the options that were presented to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, the fact that it was the Omnipod, it's tubeless.
Gotcha.
I don't have to get it stuck on a door handle as I'm running to the bathroom in the middle of the night.
Right. So I see. So you're saying that if you would have known about the integration with Tandem, that might have moved you over. Gotcha. Yes. But now it's interesting.
But at the time, I wasn't even like, I never really looked at other pumps I tried a CGM once, and I think I laughed the first time you referred to it as a harpoon needle.
Because that Medtronic one was tough, huh?
Oh, I was like, there's no way I'm going to insert this thought into me every time. So I did it twice, 3 times. Maybe I used it for a month. It never seemed to match up with what my meter said, and it hurt like hell to put it in too.
Usability is important. So this is an interesting thing, because had you gone Tandem at first, back then they just had basal IQ, right? Where it would have kind of shut your basal off to stop you from getting low. Now they have Control, which is an algorithm, and Omnipod's going to come out. I mean, by the time this is out, I am very confident in saying that people are listening to this now. Omnipod 5 is available. So, I hope so. Listen, if I have to go back and edit that part out, I'm going to be crazed. It should definitely be out by then. But my point is different, is that you didn't find an algorithm. So instead you found a podcast. You have an A1C right now that I don't know if an algorithm available retail could meet. Listen, you're using insulin. You need a meter. You need a good meter. You need an accurate meter. You need a meter that's easy to carry, easy to hold, easy to see, easy to use in the dark. You need a Contour Next 1 blood glucose meter. Quick, top of your head, what kind of meter do you have? Do you know the name of it? Have you looked into its accuracy? Have you found out if you're paying more for that meter than you might be paying for a different one? A more accurate one? Oh, whoa, you haven't, have you? Oh, it's okay. I understand. Many people just take the meter that their doctor gives them, but you don't have to do that. You can use the meter that you want to use. Arden's been using the Contour Next 1 blood glucose meter for years now, and it is super accurate, completely reliable. The screen is easy to read. It's got a lightning fast, like boom, like zing zing light. You know, I mean a light, like for nighttime viewing of the blood drop. I guess you are nighttime viewing the blood drop. Anyway, the light is nice and bright, and it doesn't require a big blood drop. I almost cursed. Let me try again. I made myself laugh. Hold on. The meter just works. It's really great. It's easy to use and easy to carry. You should check it out. contournext.com/juicebox. It has second chance test strips. It's pretty great. Go find out what I mean. The website's actually amazing too. And by amazing, I mean, it's a website for a blood glucose meter, but it has a lot of great information. It's well designed and it's easy to get around. So you should check it out.
My current doctor basically said the same thing. He goes, "Why? You're doing it right now." I just want it so I can go to sleep and sleep through the night and not have to worry about alarm going off saying, "Oh, your blood sugar is 68. Maybe you should get up and do something about it."
Oh, it'll do that for sure. So, so now I haven't used Omnipod 5 yet. This is interesting talking about the future where
but you're looping now, though.
Arden does loop. Because Loop lets you set targets lower, Arden has your A1C and she has all the stability. So what that says to me is that the retail available algorithms are able to accomplish that, I imagine, if if the companies would go back to the FDA and try to test again at lower tolerances.
Right.
So you have to wonder if the companies are going to have the drive to do that or not, because the other side of it is that you throw Omnipod 5 on most people who don't listen to this podcast, and you're going to take people with 8 A1Cs into 6 A1Cs, and they're not even going to know how it happened. It's just going to be magic, and they're not going to, you know what I mean? And so the ability to help vast swaths of people using insulin is right here. It exists. Now you just got to get them onto people. Will they want to make a super user version of it? I hope so. I really do. Or maybe it's manipulatable to the point where you can make some setting changes where you'll have lower outcomes. I don't know, because the Omnipod 5, from what I'm understanding, is a learning system. So
it learns your habits. Is that
they say it makes different adjustments as time goes on. And
I mean, so it's not going to have like all those gazillion settings you got to do on Loop now, or is it going to be?
Yeah, I don't imagine that they're going to make it. I mean, listen, the one thing to say about Loop is there are a lot of settings, and if you get them wrong, it doesn't work. So
yeah, that was, and I thought about when they first said, "Oh, Loop is available now for Omnipod and Dexcom." So I'm like, "Oh, let me think about it."
Yeah.
Well, first I didn't have an Apple computer, so that was pretty much out of the out of the.
Oh, I think just it being do it yourself would move most people away from it. It scares the hell out of me still.
I mean, I'm not like computer illiterate, but I'm not a programmer. So, but I was able to build my own Night Scout account. So I was able to do that. So I could follow directions.
Yeah.
But then as it went on, people, it would stop working. And you have to get this rider link from some guy, wherever he's, selling out of his garage. I mean, but it just seemed a little bit, maybe I'll just wait.
Right. Oh, listen, and
don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to shit on anybody who does this.
No, I don't.
I'm happy that they're doing it. Just for me, I'll just wait.
100% don't think you are. I felt exactly the same way. And, if people,
but you have a great resource that you can call at any time you want.
Yeah. There's people who are willing to help me, which is nice. But maybe a month or so ago, Arden's phone died. Finally, she doesn't replace them constantly. So her phone was pretty old, and she comes to me one day. I had been telling her for 6 months, we have to, your phone is done. And she's like, no, but it's this great color.
Wait, she's a teenager and doesn't want to get a new phone?
No, she liked her phone. She didn't want a new phone. So one day she goes, hey, like real begrudgingly, she comes to me. She goes, I think we better get rid of this phone. I was like, uh-oh, she must have seen something pretty sketchy happen. So we go to the store and we say, we're going to trade the phone in. The phone had value and we were going to get money back for it. And so we go in, we're like, look, we need to trade in the phone. We're going to buy a new one, but you can't have the phone right now. We can bring it back in a few hours. And the guy's like, what? I'm like, her pancreas is on this phone, basically. So we trade in the phone. I don't get the money. We go home, get the new phone set up. I have to make a build of the app for Loop and put it on her new phone. Then get the whole thing switched over, get it running correctly. And once it was working right and everything was switched over, I was like, okay, then give me your other phone. I'll blank it out and I'll take it and get my money in, which I did. But it was a lot of work. And it's more than what I think you would expect, what most people would expect. I think that most people would want a retail version of this. Like I download an app from the App Store. I turn it on, it pairs to the thing works. Or it comes with its own controller and it's prepared or what, like, you know what I mean? Like no one's looking to build an app in, some program and have to own an Apple computer so that you can I'm an app developer, for God's sakes, because my daughter's on Loop, right? I had to buy an app developer. Right. It's too much. I'm not going to lie to you. It's too much. You know what I mean? But the damn thing works. Amazing.
Think about the people who, I'm astonished, but the people who actually take the time to do that and then let everybody else know about it too, that's incredible.
Yeah, but people are inherently good. At least some of them are. And you wouldn't like. Sometimes you look at you're out on Long Island. You think everybody's an ass, but
you said it, not me.
Well, you only have to drive there once to not like people anymore. That's for certain. But I tell you,
I like most dogs more than most people.
Cole played baseball out like hours deep on the island one time, and then,
baseball heaven.
Maybe, but I hated the drive out there and the drive home. Like once you get like you finally get off the island, you come up to, and I'm not accustomed to that space. There's all those bridges, and it just looks like it looks like somebody took a handful of spaghetti, threw it at a wall, and then said, "That's what the road should look like." And it's just
If it makes you feel any better, we feel the same way about driving to Jersey. So
I imagine you do. Like I've never been so happy to be on the New Jersey Turnpike in my life as I was coming back from there. I'm like, oh, finally, just a regular amount of insanity.
Yes, I'll agree with that. Yeah. I'll give you that.
There are people all over the Midwest listening to this who could never, like you guys would never understand what traffic is. It's and just feeling like you've got a hold of the steering wheel and you're like, every decision I make could be my last one.
Yes, and just sometimes the anger of just sitting at a light and then knowing you're only going to go about 3 feet when the light turns green.
Yeah. Nah, nobody should live here. You'll probably enjoy Tampa much more, except for
I hope so.
Yeah. Anyway, so the algorithms, right? Like they're the future. I'm confident. I'm 100% confident they are. I am thrilled about Omnipod 5 coming out. It's going to go on to most people and be an amazing change for them. And I hope that adults living with type 1 who are fighting through 7s and 8s will have the ability and the nerve and the kind of enthusiasm to try it, because it's going to be astounding. I'm sure Control IQ is the same way, like in different it gets there a different way, but I'm sure it will be a great improvement for people.
See, the thing is with the algorithm, if my blood sugar starts going up, I don't want to let the algorithm just take care of it. I want to just take care of it myself at that moment.
So you don't want it to slowly go after it. You want to be more aggressive about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll just, let me go for like a 15-minute walk or something if I have the time. And that usually brings it, back down, or starts getting it back down where I want it to be.
Right. Yeah. Or make a bowl. I don't know how Omnipod 5 is going to work yet because I haven't seen it, but I assume it's going to work through basal increases. Mm-hmm. And the version of Loop that we use doesn't work through basal increases. It works through boluses. And so the original version of Loop that we had, if I'm getting this wrong, I apologize to the loopers, but I think that would be Pete's version, makes adjustments by basal, and it worked great, but it was too slow. Like it didn't stop spikes quickly enough. It didn't bring them down quickly enough, like for me. I think I use Ivan's version now. And that one, when that one sees a rise, it makes a bolus.
Okay.
And that's pretty legit the way that works.
And the fact, the fact that first of all, they have, like I said, that they have somebody who's just making this stuff and giving it to you is great. Mm-hmm. But if I was to use it, I would think I would probably only use it at night, because I think I'm very good at keeping in my blood sugar where I want it without having to do anything else.
So when we started, I would say to people, it's really valuable overnight, but during the day, I do a much better job than it does. But then I retaught myself how to think about insulin within the Loop system. And now I know how to use it and keep it open.
I guess when I have to use it for a while, you're going to understand it better and be able to use it the way you want it to work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm excited for Omnipod 5. Actually, it's interesting you brought it up, because you didn't have any notes for today and I didn't know what the hell we were going to talk about. But I just got an email like an hour ago that was double checking on my NDA for Omnipod 5 from Insulin.
Nice.
So that must mean, if I'm guessing, that must mean that we're going to see it here pretty soon.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, because
and then I'm sure you'll have an episode about how it works.
Well, as soon as the NDA lifts. Yeah. But I think it's possible I'm going to get it to use it before other people. So I won't be able to talk about it while I'm doing it. But
because you're so special.
Well, I don't think that's why. I think it's solely because I reach a lot of people. And I've been telling Insulet for years, as this has been developed, you know, that I thought there was value in me knowing how to use it before it was on the, you know, before everybody was holding it in their hands, you know, because I said there are going to be a fair amount of people who are going to turn to me and say, I don't know how to use this. And you don't want me learning it at the same time they're learning it. I was like, so it might only end up being weeks, you know what I mean? That I have it, you know, ahead of other people. It's not like I'm going to have it for 6 months before other people.
Well, that's what did you go on loop because people were pestering you to do an episode about it?
There's one woman specifically. I just actually recorded with her recently, and she, you know, came on and talked about why she pestered me about it. And it was the same reason. She was like, I need you to understand this so I can understand it better. So it was her. She's like, I'll help you build it. I'll get you on it. Like, you just please, like, learn how to use this so you can talk about it.
I need you to learn it so you can teach me about it.
Oh,
right?
Listen, it ended up being a really great thing. Her name's Gina. She'll be, you know, her episode, I'm sure by the time somebody hears yours will have been up for a while.
Well, I don't expect my episode to come out till probably this time next year.
No, you'll be around Christmas or so. New Year.
A holiday treat.
Yeah. but what she did ends up being, I mean, it was amazing because the one thing I learned about algorithms are they let you sleep. And I have been sleeping really well for a couple of years now. And it's made big difference.
That's all I want.
You're like, I'll take a 6.5 A1C if I can sleep through the night.
Man, but it's just, you know, a lot of times I'll just sleep because I'm just staring at the walls, thinking about things I can't control. And then my blood sugar goes low. And now I'm up because of that.
Yeah. You have that? Are you one of those people, like your brain starts talking to you when you try to go to sleep?
That doesn't happen to everybody?
No, man. When it's time for me to go to sleep, I shut my eyes and I go to sleep. The world could be coming to an end, and I'd be like, well, I hope I live through this.
My wife's the same way.
Yeah.
We'll be laying in bed. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go brush my teeth. By the time I come back, she's asleep. And I'm just looking at her sleeping peacefully, and I'm just awake thinking about things I can't control.
No kidding. Would you talk about that for a second? What is it like? What are some of the things that most like frequently pop into your head?
Just, you know, I got to make sure I got to make enough money to pay the bills. I got to make sure that the oil in the car gets changed. Stupid stuff, things like that. It just, I don't know why I think about it. I just do.
So you're not worried about like a comet hitting the planet or something?
No. Oh, but now I'm going to be thinking about that tonight, probably.
Listen, car won't need oil in that situation.
Right. I mean, I'm just using those as stupid examples. I mean, there's, you know, a lot of times, now obviously with me about to move, I got all those anxieties about selling a house, getting a new house, packing the house up, getting rid of all the stuff we accumulated over 13 years that we haven't touched in 12 years.
I think of tasks very simply. So I have a to-do list in my mind. I have learned to write it down because I'm older now and I will forget things. But what I've learned is that the things that have to get done get done. That just happens, right? The cream rises to the top is the idea.
Because if it doesn't, it all falls apart.
Something falls apart. So things make themselves obvious. Like suddenly you're like, okay, this becomes, so I'm very, my to-do list shifts. You could be the next thing on my to-do list. And if the fifth thing becomes important, guess what? Everybody slides down, the fifth thing jumps to the top. So I'm never worried about getting things done because my assumption is that I'm an adult. And during the course of the day, I'm going to work. I'm going to see my family. I'm going to make food. Some days I won't feel as well as I feel other days. And the things that need to get done, I'll do first. And I guess that's why I don't worry about anything. But I don't know.
I wish I could be like that.
Yeah, I'm sorry for you. It sounds terrible. I watch my wife lay
I mean, it's not like that every night. But this sometimes I'll just can't go to sleep, and then I'm keeping myself up because I'm thinking about things that aren't that important.
And if you had more rest, you could take care of.
Yes. And I'm sure I'm not the only adult out there that does that.
No, I don't believe you are. Not nearly. That's a level of anxiety, right?
Probably. I mean, I don't find myself during the day being very anxious about anything.
Okay.
It's just when I'm trying to go to sleep, that's when, I'm finally quiet enough where I can think about things. And then I start thinking about things I shouldn't be thinking about.
Yeah. No kidding. I was just sitting with Kelly the other night. She's watching something on television, and I was like, hey, I'm done now. And I just turned over, and she's like, got something on TV, and it's loud, and there's lights on. I was like, it's over for me. She's going to sleep. I'm like, I'll likely be asleep before this conversation's over.
That is my wife 100%.
Yeah.
And I'll just be looking at her as she's sleeping and snoring.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I wish I could just do that.
Well, I don't know why I can do it, or I cancel the podcast right now and bottle whatever that is and sell it to you, because I know it's a big deal for people. So you said you want to be able to sleep better with your blood sugar. So do you see lows overnight?
Not a lot. I mean, sometimes it'll drift into like the high 60s, but my alarm is set for 70. So I'm up if it drifts down that low, but it's not a lot.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I don't get a lot of lows. I don't get a lot of highs. Although last night I was at my son's game and it did drop a little low than I expected. But
were you more
a lot
active?
quicker to take care of a low than a high. So
yeah. Were you more active, do you think? Or
yes, 100%. It actually became a game practice because the other team didn't show up.
Oh, so you thought you came to watch a baseball game and suddenly you were a dad helping with practice.
Well, I'm one of the coaches on the team, so I'm always on the field. But now we're running a practice, and I was out playing left field, and I was running around a little more than I anticipated.
You also just named your episode.
Okay.
Out in left field. So, I mean,
out in left field,
or out of left field. I'll find it.
Don't think I haven't thought about what it's going to be called before I got on this call with you.
Listen,
it's kind of organically named itself.
Yeah. For most people listening to you, I could just call it AO and they would understand. But you don't hear your accent the way they will. I don't hear your accent the way they will.
No, because you and I are kind of the same.
Yeah, I basically feel the way feel you right now. Okay. So you get out there, you start hustling around. You didn't say to yourself, that's interesting. Why didn't you say to yourself, I should probably eat something before I start doing this, or try to get ahead of this with a temp basal or something like that? Or did you?
Because I didn't think about it. I was already there. I didn't bring any food to eat because that's how I am. And I always have something with me if I go low. So I'm never too worried about it. So once I saw it drifting down low, I just popped some glucose tablets in, and then 5-10 minutes later, I was fine.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, I don't. The temp basal's down. At that point, it's too low. It's too obviously late. At that point, it's too late.
Yeah. But I was really interested in. I thought you would say what you said, but I wanted people to hear it. Like, it just happened too quickly. Like, life happened, and you had to adjust.
Right? Exactly. It really, I was fine the whole practice, and then it started going down 98, 92, 84, 71. Then I get the alarm, 62. All right, at that time, practice was over. I popped in my glucose tablets. I got down to 45, but then by the time I was home, I was 105.
While it's drifting down, what's your thought process? Like, maybe it'll stop?
This practice is going to be over soon. Then I'll take care of it.
Gotcha. Because a couple of tabs in the middle of that drift would have stopped the 45, you think?
100%. We were doing the last thing we were going to do, and I said, all right, let me just get through this, and then I'll be able to take care of it, and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. I wasn't about to pass out or anything like that. I felt it coming on.
No,
and
I don't
think
this
practice is going to be over in 10 minutes, so I'll take care of it then.
Okay. No, I just wanted people to hear like your thought process during it, because it obviously worked out fine for you.
Yeah, it just, I just needed 10 minutes and I was fine.
No kidding. Interesting. So did you sit around a little bit before you left? Or you just take them and make sure you were okay and then roll out?
I was slowly taking my time getting out of the park, and then it was a little bit of a walk to the car, so I took that a little slower. My wife drove home, and I sat in the front seat and talked to her. I was fine. By the time, like I said, by the time it's only a 15-minute ride. By the time we were home, I was already in the hundreds.
Right. Do you think anyone around you knew?
No, absolutely not.
Right. So this isn't like
my wife knew because I told her, and I said I'll be behind you in just a few minutes.
Right. But like if I
no one knew.
Yeah, if I said to your kids your dad was playing left field last night and his blood sugar was getting low, they would be surprised by that.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Everybody, all the other parents, everybody would have been surprised.
Do you have any trouble?
I mean,
I'm sorry.
I don't actively promote that I have diabetes, but I don't actively say I don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody asks me about it, I'll tell them. But I'm not going out telling everybody, "Oh, I have type 1 diabetes."
Don't show up in every new situation. Oh, it's a new season of the baseball team. Let me first tell you about my pump, and you just kind of live your life.
I mean, I tell the other the other coaches obviously know we're actually good friends with them, but I would tell them about it just in case some odd chance something happens. Mm-hmm. They know what my situation is.
Right, that makes sense.
But I'm not telling everybody. And I usually wear my pod either on my leg or on my upper arm, so it's not really noticeable.
I see. While the ball was flying, well, listen, I'm giving your kids a lot of credit. While the ball was flying around, maybe while you were watching kids strike out, I don't know what was happening exactly, but did you feel like you could react if the ball came to you?
Yes, at the time, yes, I was still fine. Yeah. It's just the variable of me moving around a little more than I anticipated had an effect 20 minutes later when we were doing another drill when I wasn't in left field.
Right. So that's where an algorithm would be helpful, because the one thing that people might not understand about them is the way they keep stability is like it's the future seeing part of it, right? So if your basal is set at, like, let's say your basal is 1.2 an hour. I don't know what yours is, but
it's less than that. But
it's okay. So let's make it 1 just for fun because it's round.
Yep.
So your basal is 1 an hour, and this basal's holding you nice and stable, 85, 90 for a couple of hours at a time, and then the algorithm in loop believes that you're going to get lower later. It'll cut the basal back. And so you'll never notice it happen. But when you go back and look, even with great settings, you'll see basal get dialed back throughout the day over and over again. But when you're a person who's on a regular pump, your basal's 1 no matter what. It's not looking into the future. And I'm not saying that it would know you were going to get active. I'm just saying it can tell, like, oh, this 90 that I'm holding on to is going to become 85 and my target's 90. So it'll, I don't know, it'll make your 1 basal 0.7 for a little while, or it might suddenly take it all away and then bring it back. It might take it down to 0 for 5 or so minutes and then bring it up to 0.2. It's fascinating to watch it work.
I remember listening to somebody on one of the episodes where it happens. It could change for like 5 minutes and then stop changing, or change again.
Yeah,
something else. It's just like, and the fact that it could do that is incredible. And I look forward to being able to finally use it.
It teaches you too while you're watching it. Like, that's why if I'm helping somebody who's not on an algorithm, like, you can say something like, we're going to make your basal, like, I don't know, from 1 unit an hour, we're going to make it 3 units an hour, but just for like 15 minutes, then shut it off. And, we're going to take it all away, but I only want to take it away for a few minutes. And it sounds crazy, but once your settings are super stable like that, adjustments in the moment are more, I want a word here, they're more reactionary. Like, whereas if you were 1 unit a day all day with your basal and you wanted to do a temp basal for activity, you might have to do it like 90 minutes prior, right?
Yeah.
But once you're on the algorithm and your settings are right, you could make those adjustments a little sooner to what you want to happen.
It's easy to say, oh, just dial your basal back an hour and a half before you exercise. I don't know I don't even know if I'm going to be exercising an hour and a half from now. So it's tough for me to. So anytime I exercise, I have to eat something before I go do it, because a lot of times I'll go for a bike ride, and I'm not scheduling this time ahead of time. I'm just, all right, I'm going to go for a bike ride now.
Right.
So let me eat something.
Yeah. So if you were to say, I'm going to go for a bike ride right now, oh, you know what? Let me set a temp basal. An hour from now, you might not have time to go for that bike ride anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll do it in the morning, and then, all right, I'll get up in the morning, but sometimes I don't feel like doing it. So then my whole thought process is off then, because all right, I already dialed it back, but now I'm not going to go because it's raining outside or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't go. And now I had this low basal. I need to bring it back up. So I just, for me personally, as my choices, I'll just eat something before I exercise.
Right. I think that, I mean, obviously the tools are in the pro tip episodes, but I don't imagine that means that everybody can use them. I just think even understanding their concepts might help you make a amalgam of that idea with your life and find something that would work for you.
Yes. It's that episode about exercise. It all revolved around the timing of everything.
Yeah.
And like I said, I can't just say, oh, an hour and a half from now, I'm going to go do what I want to do, because life happens and doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, also, and the reason it's set up that way is because if you're trying to lose weight with type 1, you can't eat to exercise, because then I don't eat like, when I say I eat something, I eat like a banana. Okay.
Or yogurt or something like that.
Something is going to do that.
Yes. And it's not something that's I'm not going to grab a Meatball Hero and have French fries on the side with it or anything.
How often as a person with type 1 do you eat when you don't want to?
For me, not much.
Okay, good.
I mean, and then when you say I don't eat when I don't want to, or I eat when I don't want to, it's never, I mean, sometimes maybe I'll have to go get a little snack or something, but it's never been like, oh, I gotta go eat right now because my blood sugar is 82.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, was it always that way, or is it since your control's been better over the last couple of years?
It's always been like that. I've never really, I can't remember any time where I said, oh, I got to eat right now. There has been times where it was like, we're sitting around the house, I would go, maybe we should go get some lunch now, because I'm not going to wait another hour and a half when it's 3:00, when it's only, we should be eating lunch now. But sometimes, because I'll know maybe we should eat lunch now because my body is telling me we should probably eat right now.
It's better. So you correct lows with glucose tabs mostly?
For the most, depends. If I'm out, that's what I have with me at all times. A lot of times, if I'm home, I'll just drink a little bit of orange juice.
Right. See, you're a real guy.
And just a little bit, just enough to get it back up. Yeah. Not a glass of it where it's going to make me 250.
Right. No, but you're like a classic guy though. Like if you have to eat a banana to go for a bike ride, you're not begrudgingly eating the banana going, I don't want this damn banana. I'm not going to do this because I have diabetes. You just do it because that's what needs to be done.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And then, yeah, 100. Yes. Okay. And I found a lot of challenges lately though, because about a month ago, I cut out bread and pasta and rice. So
did you do that
just because I wanted to lose a little bit of weight.
Okay.
And I had to make those adjustments of what I was going to eat. And now the whole protein and fat comes into effect. So I was able to actually, because of the pro tip episodes, actually be able to do this. I was always worried about cutting out bread because I'm like, how am I going to do this and take care of my boluses and my insulin needs without the carbs in there?
Interesting.
But I was able. I've been doing it for a month, and as I showed you my last couple graphs, the weekly report, 99% in range, and the low carb has made it like my blood sugar's fantastic.
Yeah. What's your range set at on that clarity report?
It's 65 to 155.
Wow.
And the only reason I said it at 155 is that's what 7.0 was. And that's what they always said that's the goal.
I'm amused that people who listen to this podcast feel it necessary to apologize for having their high alarm set at 155.
No, I mean, no.
That's amazing.
That's my range. That's my range.
Oh, the range where you're reading it at. Okay.
Where does your alarms go? My alarms go off at 70 at night and 120 during the day.
Okay. And that's your 120 is your high?
My high alarm.
Yeah. So then I misunderstood, but then you were like, oh, no. I would never put my higher alarm at 155.
No, because if it's going 155, but it might actually get to 185.
And then you're in the battle then.
Yes. And then I'm sitting up all night thinking, why is this happening? And then
that's something. Wow.
The whole cycle repeats itself. No, my alarms are set so I can take action.
Yeah. Well, Ed, I'm enjoying this, but I have to take Arden to a dentist appointment soon. So I want to make sure that we talked about everything you wanted to, except I don't think you wanted to talk about anything. So we must have done okay, right?
Yeah, I think this was just a nice conversation.
I appreciate it. I thought so too. And for other people's, sanity, I didn't ask you. I have one question I'm going to ask you outside. Well, nobody will care but me and you. So I'm going to stop the recording and ask you in a second.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate having me on. Thank you so much.
First, I'm going to thank Ed for being on the podcast. Thank you very much. And then I'm going to apologize to him because, Ed, your episode was going to be called Out in Left Field, right up until it hit me that your name was Ed and that horse that talked had a TV show with a song. And then, I mean, who knows? I'm childish, so this is what happened. You're the famous Mr. Ed. Thanks also to the Contour Next One blood glucose meter. Head over to contournext.com/juicebox to learn more and get started today. The meter actually is really great. Like, I'm not kidding. It rips. Give it a try. contournext.com/juicebox. Links in the show notes. Links at juiceboxpodcast.com. I think I could have been an old-timey radio announcer. I just found a bunch of old radio ads online. I'm going to try one. Quaker Oats. That's a good one. Your best bet for a hot breakfast. Quaker Oats. Let me try again. Your best bet for hot breakfast is Quaker Oats. Quaker Oats. The giant of the cereal is Quaker Oats. Who wrote this? I like this next part. Ready? Delicious. Hold on. Let me get a drink. Delicious, nutritious. Makes you feel. What was the rest of it? Hold on, I gotta find out. Let me go back. Hold on. No kidding. Delicious, nutritious, makes you feel ambitious. I'm getting this. Hold on. I don't get this part, but I'll do it again. The giant of the cereal is Quaker Oats. Wait, is it saying if I eat Quaker Oats, I'll be a sports star? Hold on a second. This must be what LeBron did. Yes, if you want to be a star. That's how it starts. Yes, if you want to be a star in sports and school activities, make your hot cereal Quaker Oats. That's a hell of a statement. Ooh. Because Quaker Oats helps grow the stars of the future. I think I could have done this. This guy had to have been drunk off his ass. Am I wrong? Who talks like this? Oh, wait, there's some for cigarettes. This has got to be hilarious. There are so many for Chesterfields. My dad used to smoke Chesterfields. Hold on a second. Wait, what is it? Put a smile in your smoking. It's as easy as ABC. I can't wait to see what the ABC stands for. Hold on. Because Chesterfields made with Accuray are A, always milder. B, better tasting. C, cooler smoking. Yes, Chesterfield is always... I could do this forever. I really feel like I've got a job here if old time radio ever comes back. Oh, God, I've been doing this for a while. I've wasted your time. I'm sorry. Come back soon for another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. Oh, I did it again. The Juicebox Podcast. Anyway, there'll be more episodes. Please download them. Please. Thank you. Subscribe on a podcast app. Thank you. And tell a friend. Thank you. And leave a review if you like, but only if you really love the show. If you really love the show, wherever you're listening, leave a 5-star rating and a thoughtful, well-written, and, grammatically correct review. That would be really wonderful. Do you want me to ask you with a deep voice? I can. Are you enjoying the Juicebox Podcast? Go leave a 5-star review wherever you listen. And you know what would accompany that review just nicely? That's right. A Chesterfield king. No, I'm just kidding. A well-written review that people could read and see what you think of the podcast. All right. I think I'm definitely done now. Goodbye. If you're still here, A, I think you need more to do with your life. Like you have too much free time. And B, I think it's because you want one more ad from Old Time Radio read to you. Should we go with Miracle Whip, Cheerios? What is this? Contadina tomato paste. So much here. DuPont chemistry. Yeah, that's funny. All right. DuPont chemistry.
One of the newest of the DuPont company's better things for better living through chemistry is convertible autopop.
All right, hold on. It's a lot of bullshit here. Hold on a second. Okay, I think he says one of the
newest of the DuPont company's better things for better living through chemistry.
one of the newest. Wait, this guy's got a mouthful of buffalo balls. What's he saying?
One of the newest of the DuPont companies.
One of the newest of the DuPont companies. Oh, better living. Oh, he's not even, it's not the name of the company. He just goes, one of the newest DuPont companies, better things for better living through chemistry. That's what he does. He just rolls through it real quick. Is Keel rubberized fabric? This improved.
It's made like a sandwich. In the middle is a layer of DuPont neoprene rubber.
Wow.
On either side are
Wow. That's a lot of words to say. We came up with a new fabric for your car seat. All right, that one wasn't fun. Find one more. Hold on. Frigidaire. Frigidaire. Why not Frigidaire? Ooh, Gunsmoke the TV show. Frigidaire.
This is Wendell Niles speaking. Here's something to remember about the new Frigidaire refrigerators.
This is Wendell Niles speaking. Here's something to remember about the new Frigidaire refrigerators.
Made to fit. Made to fit your kitchen. Made to fit your needs.
Made to fit your kitchen. Made to fit your needs. Prior to that, did they make refrigerators that did not fit in your kitchen? Ooh, Ford. Hold on a second.
Mama Adler will be with us in just a moment. But first, the short message from the Ford dealers of America. Owners everywhere are talking about the economy of the 50 Ford. Listen to what Mr. Jacob N. Wade of Lyndhurst, Virginia, one of over 420,000 delighted owners, said about his new Ford. In these days, when the cost of everything is up, it's certainly great to own a...
It's hilarious. These days, when the cost of everything is up, it's great to own a Ford. Yeah, a Ford. Yeah, that's what you need, a Ford. All right, listen. If you're still here, seriously, seek professional help. I don't know why you haven't shut this off yet. I'm now wondering why I'm here.